Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to our summer campaign of Arkham Horror, the card game. This summer, we're taking on the Circle Undone campaign. Before we get into this week's scenario, I want to apologize for the noise when Agnes and Carolyn were at death's doorstep last week. I normally record the scenario videos on Sundays, but I had to record that video on Friday since I was going to be traveling over the weekend. The only problem I had with that plan is I didn't expect the maintenance crew to venture outside my apartment window with leaf blowers and lawnmowers. I tried to raise my voice, as you might have heard, to try to get over the noise, but I finally gave up on the beautiful day and had to close the window. Hopefully that made the noise more tolerable, but again, my apologies on that. With that out of the way, last week, as I mentioned, Agnes and Carolyn played through the second scenario at death's doorstep. They picked up 4 experience apiece. This week, we're going into the third scenario of the Circle Undone campaign, The Secret Name. We've upgraded the decks with the 4 experience they picked up at death's doorstep. Link to that video will be in the description down below. So let's go ahead and set the scene for this week's scenario. Circle Undone, and we are looking for the secret name. Here we go.
Scenario 3, The Secret Name. Check campaign log. If the investigators are members of the Lodge, proceed to Intro 1. If the investigators are enemies of the Lodge, skip to Intro 4. If the investigators learned nothing of the Lodge's schemes, skip to Intro 5. If the investigators are never seen or heard from again, skip to Intro 6.
Alright, so as we double check the campaign log, we see that the investigators are enemies of the Lodge, so we want Intro 4.
Intro 4. After your confrontation with the president of the Silver Twilight Lodge, you travel to the manor of the Arkham Historical Society in Southside. You are positive that the events you experienced in the woods last night have something to do with the creature that kidnapped those 4 unfortunate souls. It's just a hunch, a feeling that crawls along the back of your neck, imploring you to look away, but you're sure that everything is connected. You're just not sure how. As you enter, one of the Historical Society's many researchers greets you and asks if she can help in any way. You give a cursory description of the information you're looking for, just enough that she can direct you where to look, but vague enough to leave your motives at the door. I don't know why you are researching such morbid affairs, but the records you're looking for should be in the library on the 3rd floor, the researcher says. You thank her and head to the 3rd floor, where you begin to study the history of witchcraft in Arkham. In the late 17th century, Arkham was one of the New England towns caught up in the hysteria of witch trials. Accusation of witchcraft spread like wildfire, and many of the accused were executed by hanging or burning, guilty and innocent alike. But there was one witch whose infamy rose above the rest, and whose mystical power was never in question: Keziah Mason. You recognize the name as the ghost who supposedly haunts the old witch house in French Hill. You had always thought her to be a work of fiction, a tall tale meant to scare young children away from the condemned house. But the Historical Society's records indicate that Keziah was a real person, a powerful witch who had fled from Salem over 200 years ago. You are no stranger to real witchcraft. If Keziah Mason had anything to do with the coven you encountered in the woods, you must discover that connection. You leave the manor and head toward French Hill, where the witch house awaits. Skip to setup.
Alright, so the last night should actually be last week, because this scenario takes place about a week after the incident in the woods. But that's the scenario all set up. Now let's take a look at our lady's opening hand. Our lead investigator will once again be Agnes, so we'll take a look at her opening hand first. First up, she's got 2 copies of Storm of Spirits, level 0, in her hand. As we recall, this is our AoE spell. It's AoE standing for Area of Effect. As an action, 3 costs to play, Will and Combat on Commit. Fight, this attack uses Will instead of Combat. If you succeed, instead of its standard damage, this attack deals 2 damage to each enemy at your location. Any additional damage is dealt to the attacked enemy. If you reveal a bad symbol during this attack, deal 1 damage to each investigator at your location. We have 2 copies of that. Then we have a Rite of Equilibrium level 5. So this is another spell. Question mark on commit. You can either add X curse tokens to the chaos bag to add X bless tokens to the bag, or remove X curse and X bless tokens from the bag to heal X total horror from among cards at your location. Now, if you remember the first upgrades video, we put that in Agnes's deck to counter her basic weakness, her dread curse. I could also have given that to Carolyn because of the heal horror clause, but because of another card in Agnes's hand that Agnes has in her deck, which is also in her hand, I figured she'd have a little easier time finding it. But this isn't the card coming up. In fact, let's actually look at the card that makes it easier for Agnes to find. Her Arcane Initiate, 1 cost, will on commit, forced. After it enters play, place a Doom on Arcane Initiate. As a fast action, exhaust Arcane Initiate, search the top 3 cards of your deck for a spell and draw it. Shuffle your deck. 1 health, 2 sanity on Soak. Then her last card is another one I'm pretty happy to see this early. Come on. There we go. Read the signs. 2 costs to play, will and lore on commit. Investigate. You add your will to your skill value for this investigation. You may ignore any effect or keyword on your location which would trigger during the investigation. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at this location, and I'll go through flavor text when I go to play it. Carolyn's opening hand. So she starts off with Pathfinder, 3 costs to play, agility on commit. During your turn, as a fast action, if you're not engaged with any enemies, exhaust Pathfinder, move to a connecting location. Eureka, will, lore, agility on commit. If this test is successful, the investigator performing this test searches the top 3 cards of his or her deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles. Liquid Courage, 1 cost to play, will on commit, uses 4 supplies. Action, spend 1 supply, choose an investigator at your location to heal 1 horror, then that investigator tests will 2. If the test succeeds, he or she heals 1 additional horror. If the test fails, he or she discards 1 card at random from his or her hand. Scene of the crime, 2 costs to play, combat and lore on commit, only as your first action. Discover 1 clue at your location, 2 instead if there's an enemy at that location. This attack does not provoke attacks of opportunity. And Clarity of Mind level 3. 2 costs to play, 2 will icons on commit. Uses 4 charges. As an action, spend 1 charge, heal 2 horror from among investigators at your location. So that's their hands all set up. Now, let's go through the starting act and agenda. So we'll start with the agenda. Agenda 1A, the Hermit 9. Look for answers within and not without. Many paths lead to the same answer. Contemplate the greater truth. Each non-weakness enemy gets +1 health. Reaction after you defeat Brown Jenkin or Nahab. Gain 1 clue from the token bank, 2 clues instead if there are 3 or more investigators in the game. So we'll be gaining 1 clue per time. Basically, we'll be beating clues out of some of our named enemies in this scenario. Our starting act. Act 1A, Investigating the Witch House. When you arrive at the old witch house, you find it in a sorrier state than you imagined. Surrounded by a crooked picket fence, the house looks as though it may fall apart at any minute. The front door is locked, but you are able to easily enter through one of the windows after pulling apart the rotting wooden boards covering the shattered glass. Objective: if each undefeated investigator is in Walter Gilman's room, investigators may spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance, and it says we need 6, but that number is actually effectively a little higher. As Agnes and Carolyn move over to the map, we'll move with them, and we'll see why that number is a little bit deceiving. Alright, so we're over here at the starting map for the scenario. First up, we'll take a look at Agnes and Carolyn's starting location, the Moldy Halls. As you enter the witch house, you are immediately struck by the musty, stale air. The timber smells of decay and mold. Paper peels off the walls. It is no wonder this house was condemned. Then we'll flip this over to Shroud of 4, 2 clues. Haunted, lose 3 resources. Within the aged, decrepit walls of the witch house, the only signs of life are the rats which scurry in and out of holes in the walls. Okay, that's going to be a small problem. Now we'll take a look at these there are these 3 decrepit doors around here, and the way we'll refer to them is east, south, west. So the flavor text on all 3 of these decrepit doors will be the same. There are no markings or clues which would inform as to who this room once belonged to, only the stench of mold and the sound of rats scampering on the other side. So that's the flavor text there. Now, the location we're trying to get to is Walter Gilman's room up to the north. But as we look at this location, we see why the 6 clues is slightly deceptive. The door to Walter Gilman's room is locked. As an additional cost to enter Walter Gilman's room, investigators in the moldy halls must spend 1 per investigator or 2 clues as a group. For whatever reason, this room was kept locked even after the building was condemned. You wonder where the key might lie. So we'll get the 2 clues for the moldy halls. Then we'll move into the So now we're all ready to go. So we're ready to start the scenario. Let's start with Agnes, and we'll actually stay right here to start the scenario. So, for action 1, Agnes will spend 1 resource to play out her Arcane Initiate. So we'll get the Doom for that. Then we're immediately going to exhaust the Arcane Initiate coming out of that as a fast action. So we're going to search the top 3 cards of her deck for a spell while I get a little bit more of this stuff out of the way. Alright, so 3 cards and we get a spell. Card 1, Ward of Protection. 1 cost to play, wild card on commit. Fast. Play when you draw a non-weakness treachery card. Cancel that card's revelation effect, then take 1 horror. Drawn to the Flame. I wish desperately I could take this, but I can't. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. And Shriveling. 3 costs to play, combat on commit. Uses 4 charges. As an action, spend a charge, fight. This attack uses will instead of combat and deals +1 damage. If you pull a bad symbol, take 1 horror. Coming back to this, I think we're going to take the Shriveling, just to give us some more options just to give us some combat options as well. Give that 1 more shuffle. And a cut. Alright. Then for action 2, we're actually going to... What cost do I want to play? Or do I want to pay for this? I think I'm going to take a damage for this one and play Read the Signs so I can shuffle that back into my deck. As you recall, our investigation is now our lore is now plus will for this investigation. We can ignore any keyword or effect that would trigger on our location. We get 1 additional clue if we succeed. A grisly future is laid before you. Do you turn away or do you embrace it? So we're at a Shroud of 4. Our will plus lore brings us up to 7. So we are up 3. Looking at Carolyn's hand, I'm going to give her Eureka to boost both. I'm going to give Agnes Eureka to boost both of those. So that'll put Agnes up 5. Actually, they'll put her up 5. Skull. Let's take a look at that. Skull is -1, -3 instead if you're at an extra dimensional location, which we are very much not in an extra dimensional location. And even if we were, we'd still pass the test. So Agnes gets both clues. And we get to search the top 3 for a spell. So I will resolve the end of the investigation first, which will shuffle the Read the Signs back in. And now Agnes gets to search the top 3 again for a card. This time it's a card. We don't have to, it doesn't necessarily have to be a spell. So for first up we have Spectral Razor, 2 cost, will and combat and commit. Fight. It's basically read the signs but for combat instead. So you deals +1 damage, +2 instead if the enemy is non-elite. Next up, Arcane Studies. Skill, it's a 2 cost to play, will and lore on commit. Skill dump for will and lore. And Voice of Ra. Gain 1 resource and pull 3 random tokens from the bag. For each bad symbol you reveal, gain an additional 2 resources. This is tempting. This is a tough one. But I think just because we have Shriveling right now, which I'm probably going to bring down before too long, that makes me less likely to want to take Spectral Razor right now. Plus we have no enemies in play, so I don't really need it yet. I think we're going to take the... I can find Voice of Ra later if I need it, so I'm going to take Arcane Studies. Alright, so Arcane Studies is now in Agnes's hand. And for action 3, I'm going to pay the 3 resources and play that aforementioned Shriveling. So we'll get the 4 charges for that. Oop. 2, 3, 4. So there are charges for Agnes's Shriveling. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, and then that will do it for Agnes. Carolyn, we're going to stay right here. For action 1, she's going to pay she's going to pay 3 resources and play Pathfinder. And then the flavor text on here. Searchers after horror haunt strange, far places. H.P. Lovecraft, The Picture in the House. So we've got that. Then as a fast action coming out of her first action, I'll exhaust that to move Carolyn to the west decrepit door. So we'll move her over here. And we'll see... Ooh. Shoma Zerwick's room. 3 cost, 3 shroud, 2 clues. As an action, search your deck for a blessed or item asset and add it to your hand. Group limit once per game. Haunted, you must either take 1 horror or choose and discard an asset you control. This room is rather plain. Several crucifixes hang on the wall, and a broken loom sits on a table in the corner. So we'll get the 2 clues for that. Then action 2, we will go ahead and investigate up 1. Rune is... Rune is -2. If you fail and Nahab is at your location, she attacks you. Nahab is not at our location, but we do fail. Action 3 will run the investigate back up 1. -3 says no way. Alright, so that's the end of Carolyn's investigation phase. That's the end of Carolyn's actions. That's the end of the investigation phase. Enemy phase, there are no enemies in play. So we'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. I did remember to flip Agnes and Carolyn's mini cards over before I moved up top. So Agnes will gain 1 resource, go up to 2. Carolyn will also gain 1 resource and go up to 3. Agnes will draw 4 of Cups. I wish this would have been in her hand at the start, but oh well. You get +1 will. When the game begins, if 4 of Cups is in your opening hand, put it into play. Probably still be warm to playing that anyway. Carolyn will draw. Oh, for Rational Thought. Put Rational Thought into play in your threat area with 4 horror on it. Horror on Rational Thought may be healed as if it were on Carolyn. If there is no horror on Rational Thought, discard it. You can't heal horror from cards other than Rational Thought. You can't gain resources from Carolyn's reaction ability, so that's annoying. We'll get our 4 horror for Rational Thought. We'll use this instead. We'll use the actual tokens instead. So we'll use the actual game stuff. So there's the 4 horror going on Rational Thought. That's kind of annoying. Anyway, Mythos phase. Doom on the agenda. We get our first one for the scenario. Then Agnes draws. Swarm of Rats. It's a hunter. So it makes friends with Agnes. 1/1/3. Does it damage on attack? A horde of cruel rats skitters forth in an undulating wave of slow claws, teeth, and mottled fur. Fantastic. Carolyn draws. Centuries of Secrets. Test Will 5. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of the encounter deck. If a Curse Treachery is discarded by this effect, deal 1 direct damage to your investigator and to each of your ally assets. Yuck. Alright, so I'm down 2. I'm going to commit Liquid Courage and hope for a plus effect. That brings her down 1, but like I said, I'm hoping for a plus effect. Spoiler alert, this is not a plus effect. As we saw earlier, it's a -1, -3 instead if you're at an extra dimensional location. So it cancels out the Liquid Courage, which means we fail by 2 again. So we have to discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. If we get a Treachery, or if we get a Curse, Carolyn takes a direct damage. She doesn't have any allies to worry about. First card we lose. Shapes in the Mist. Terror Spectral. Surge, Revelation, resolve each haunted ability on your location. I'm not sorry to see that go. Second card we lose. Fate of All Fools. Omen Spectral. We've seen this before. I'll actually go through all of the options when we draw it for real, but Carolyn actually dodges the Centuries of Secrets, so we get lucky there. That will do it for the Mythos phase. The Investigation phase is up next. We'll start off with Agnes, and the start of her turn will take us down to her play area. Before we start Agnes's turn, fast action, an open player window coming out of Carolyn's encounter card. We're going to exhaust Agnes's Arcane Initiate again, top 3 cards for a spell. First card up. Ward of Protection again. Second card. Spectral Razor. Third card. Tower 16. Did I shuffle this? I might not have shuffled this actually, but I'm going to pretend like I did, and I'm going to make sure I shuffle this time. So I can't take the Tower 16. I think actually I will take the Spectral Razor. Okay, now, we're going to make sure we shuffle this on camera. It's entirely possible I shuffled this and it ended up back on top. But I'm going to make absolutely certain I shuffle this time. All right, we'll give it one more. And we'll cut it. All right, now, looking at Agnes's hand, I think for action 1, I actually am going to go ahead and shrivel the rats. So we're up 4 using will. Up 4. -1 kills the rats with no major problems. Action 2 will take us over to the map. Agnes is right here in shot. Action 2, we're going to move down to the south decrepit door and we'll see what's over there. Frank Elwood's room, shroud of 3, 2 clues. Haunted. You must either place one of your clues on Frank Elwood's room or place one doom on the current agenda. A desk covered in university papers and books occupies one wall of the cramped room. Perhaps a student once lived here? We'll get the 2 clues for that. And then action 3. Let's take a look at the... I think action 3 we will go ahead and set up for next turn. Just open up my options a little bit. So I will take a resource and bring Agnes up to 3. So that will do it for Agnes's turn. Carolyn's turn. We're going to go ahead and... I think we're going to run the investigate back. So once again, we are up 1. -3 still says no way. Then for action 2, we're going to play Clarity of Mind level 3. We went through this earlier, but we'll go through the flavor text. From the surreal, lead me to the real. From the darkness, lead me to the light. From the dead, lead me to the immortal. So I'm only going to grab 3 charges for this one because action 3, there are the 3 charges. Action 3, we're actually going to use one of the charges from Clarity of Mind to heal 2 horror off of Rational Thought. So that will do it for Carolyn in the investigation phase. Enemy phase, there are still no enemies in play. So now we'll move up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Once again, I had to reset everything on off camera. So Carolyn will gain 1 resource, go to 2. Agnes will gain 1 resource, go to 4. Agnes will draw. Heirloom of Hyperborea. 3 costs to play. Will, combat, and 2 wildcards on commit. Agnes Baker deck advanced. Only damage and or horror from player card effects can be assigned to Heirloom of Hyperborea. After you play a spell card, draw 1 card. 3 and 3 on soak. Carolyn draws. Drawn to the Flame. This is very welcome with the problem we've been having getting those clues off of Carolyn's location. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. So that will do it for the upkeep phase. Mythos, Doom, come on. Doom goes up to 2, but we're at 3 Doom in play, and we're advancing because of the Arcane Initiate, having a Doom on it. Agnes draws. Another Swarm of Rats. Joy, joy. Carolyn draws. Centuries of Secrets. Okay, well... Now, unfortunately, Carolyn's down 2, and I'm not committing her Drawn to the Flame. -3 says, yeah, right. So we have to discard the top 5 And if we nail a curse, Carolyn takes 1 direct damage. Again, we have no allies in play, so we don't have to worry about that. Card 1, pulled by the stars, Hex. I'll go through these later when I draw them, but I'm only interested in the type right now. Second up, Diabolic Voices, so I will deal Carolyn 1 damage right now, because that part's already happened, so we'll go through the rest of these. Shapes in the Mist, which makes us resolve haunted abilities. Meddlesome Familiar. Okay, this should pull Brown Jenkin into play. And Realm of Torment. I am not sorry to see this go, because that starts your turn with your haunted abilities. Now, coming out of the Mythos phase, coming off of Carolyn's encounter card, once again we'll exhaust the Arcane Initiate to search the top 3 of Agnes's deck for a spell. First card up, Ward of Protection. Card 2, another Shriveling. Card 3, Shriveling level 3. I think we're actually going to take Shriveling level 3. Now, in case you're wondering why I have 3 copies of Shriveling by title in the deck, if you remember back to the intro video, Agnes actually has special deck building, Parallel Agnes actually has special deck building restrictions, where when you go to upgrade a spell card, you instead, actually let me give this a shuffle, then we'll flip over to Agnes. But basically where this is going is one of the lower level versions of Shriveling actually doesn't count toward deck size. If you're following the deck lists on Arkham DB, there actually is a bug on there where it'll tell you that there are too many copies of a card by title. But because of the way Parallel Agnes works, let's take a quick look at her just to refresh our memory. It's the additional options. When you upgrade a spell card, which Shriveling of course is a spell, you may instead pay the full experience cost of the higher level version and leave the lower level version in your deck. It doesn't count toward your deck size or the number of copies of that card in your deck. So one of the Shriveling level 0s in the deck actually doesn't count toward our deck size, nor does it count toward the limit on the card by copy. So that will do it for just a quick little explanation there. Now, our turn is going to look at Agnes's turn when she starts in the investigation phase is going to look very familiar. So let's drop down to her player area and get her show on the road. Action 1, we'll start off with a little bit of Shriveling, so we're up 4, trying to kill the rats once again. Rats once again go bye-bye. Action 2, we'll pay the 3 resources, and we'll play her 4 of Cups, if I can ever find it. Here it is. So once again, this just gives her +1 in the Tarot slot. Seek clarity in your heart and mind. Then for action 3, we don't have a way to get clues right now, do we? I will just take a resource and prepare for later. Anyway, that will do it for Agnes. The start of Carolyn's turn will take us over to the map. Alright, here's Carolyn over here in shot. Action 1, we're going to start off with Drawn to the Flame. And the flavor text as promised. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. H.P. Lovecraft, The Call of Cthulhu. So Carolyn finds... Realm of Torment. Revelation, put Realm of Torment into play in your threat area. When your turn begins, resolve each haunted ability on your location. Forced, when your turn ends, test Will 3. If you succeed, discard it. But that does get us the 2 clues at least. So that brings us up to 4. Then as a fast, I'll exhaust Pathfinder and move Carolyn to the Moldy Halls. For action 2, I will bring her down to Agnes. Then action 3, hopefully we won't have as many problems. Actually, do I investigate or do I just heal rational thought away? For action 3, I think we get rational thought gone now while I'm thinking about it. So I will heal the last 2 horror off of rational thought with clarity of mind. So that's gone. Then at the end of Carolyn's turn, I forgot to flip Agnes's mini over. At the end of Carolyn's turn, I will test Realm of Torment. She's at even. And Agnes, who's got a mostly full grip of cards, we'll give her the Heirloom of Hyperborea, because to me it's only good for skill commits, and this will put Carolyn up 3. +1 gets rid of Realm of Torment before it starts causing us problems. So that is very welcome. Anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we still have no enemies in play. We'll move, so now we'll start resetting everything. Flip over the minis, reset the action tokens, and then we'll reset Pathfinder and Arcane Initiate. Then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Each lady will gain a resource, and both will go to 3. There we go, and cool. Agnes will draw. Yeah. Her own copy of Drawn to the Flame. We may use this to get those clues off of the room as well. So we are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards in hand, so we're fine there. Carolyn draws. Another Clarity of Mind level 0. So basically this is a lower powered version of Clarity of Mind. Gives you 1 fewer icon on commit, 1 fewer charge, and 1 fewer horror from an investigator at your location. But, on an unrelated note to that, now we're into the Mythos phase, so our agenda advances. Alright. Agenda 1B, Rats in the Walls. As you explore the old, dilapidated house, the telltale scratching and scurrying in the walls becomes louder and more frequent. Every now and again, a fanged, furry creature darts across the wooden floor, scampering in and out of rat holes in the walls. You wonder if this house is more rat than wood. If Brown Jenkins is in play, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a swarm of rats and spawn it in Brown Jenkins' location. If Brown Jenkins is not in play, and he's not, search the encounter deck and discard pile for him and spawn him in the lead investigator's location. Additionally, if there are 3 or 4 investigators in the game, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a swarm of rats and spawn it in any witch house location. So Brown Jenkins right now is not in play, which means we have to go find him. There he is. Okay. Alright, so we get to take our first look at Brown Jenkins. Brown Jenkins, the witch is familiar. 1/1/4, creature familiar elite, which turns off Spectral Razor. Aloof Hunter. Each ready creature enemy gets +2 fight. Forced. When the enemy phase ends, if Brown Jenkins is ready, each investigator his location discards his or her hand, then draws that many cards. Yikes. We need to stay away from him if we can. But So that's all done. Let's take a look at Agenda 2A. Agenda 2A, the familiar. The descriptions of the darting little furry object which served as her familiar were so painfully realistic, despite their incredible details. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dreams in the Witch House. Each non-weakness enemy gets +2 health, so Brown is actually a 3. After you defeat Brown, as a reaction, after you defeat Brown, Jenkin, or Nahab, gain 1 clue from the token bank, 2 instead if there are 3 or more investigators in the game. Fortunately, Brown is aloof, so that shouldn't cause us too many problems, which means we can get away from him easily enough if we need to, and we probably do. Agnes draws another swarm of rats. Actually, this kind of gives me a little bit of an idea, but we'll have to think about that. Carolyn draws Bedeviled. Put it into play. You can't trigger action abilities on cards you control. As an action, test Will 3. If you succeed, discard Bedeviled. If there's an exhausted witch enemy at your location, this test is automatically successful. Okay, so... Okay. We may have to have Agnes take that test, but first she's got to get rid of her swarm of rats. To that end, I will exhaust the Arcane Initiate again and see about the top 3 of her deck, and I grab a spell. First card up. Ward of Protection again. We keep shuffling that away. Card 2. Dark Memory. This is her character weakness. As a 2 cost to play, place 1 Doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance. Forced. If Dark Memory is in your hand at the end of your turn, reveal it and take 2 horror. Card 3. Voice of Ra. 0 cost to play, will on commit. Gain 1 resource, reveal 3 random tokens from the Chaos Bag. For each bad symbol revealed, gain additional 2 resources. Now, if you remember back to the intro video for this campaign, I talked about this exact situation happening, where when I exhausted the Arcane Initiate, if I found Dark Memory is a spell, which means I can find it with Arcane Initiate, and if it had been the only spell available to me, I would have had to take it. I couldn't have failed to find. But because I have 2 other spells with it, I can tell Dark Memory to get bent, and I'm going to. And I think I'm going to take Voice of Ra coming out of this. So, now, if that draw had been a little bit different, let's say I ended up... Let's say, for example, just to refresh your memory, I'm taking Dark Memory in this... Not Dark Memory, I'm taking Voice of Ra in this case. Let's say I exhausted the Arcane Initiate, and that ended up being my draw instead. It ended up being... Like, let's say, the Hallowed Mirror, for example. 4 of Cups, and then Dark Memory. In that case, because Dark Memory is the only spell available to me, and Arcane Initiate gives me a spell, in that case, I would have to take Dark Memory. I couldn't fail to find. But because I found 2 other spells with it, I do get to tell Dark Memory to get bent, and I'm taking Voice of Ra coming out of that. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to jar the camera there. I did want to go into a quick explanation of why the Arcane Initiate had the potential to cause problems with Dark Memory, but that will do it for the Mythos phase. We'll be into the Investigation phase next. And once again, we'll start the turn with Agnes, and we'll start it at her play area. Okay, I know what you're thinking. I said Agnes was going to go first, so what are we doing at Carolyn's play area? Because I had to take a little bit of a break to give my voice a chance to rest. And we're actually going to have Carolyn go first instead, because there's something I need to do before Agnes takes her turn. So for action 1, as her first action, we're going to play Scene of the Crime. As you recall, we can only play this as our first action. Discover 1 clue at your location, 2 clues instead if there's an enemy at your location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. If Agnes's turn goes the way I hope it will, there won't be any enemies left at her location, so I've got to do this first. So I'll grab the 2 clues off of Frank Elwood's room. Give those to her, so she's got 6. So she's got 4, we have 6 total. Then as a fast action coming out of that first action, we need to move over to the map. As a fast action, we're going to get Carolyn moving, so she's going to exhaust Pathfinder to move up to the moldy halls. Then for action 2, she's going to move over to the last decrepit door, and we'll see what's back here. Landlord's Quarters. Forced. After you reveal Landlord's Quarters, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a swarm of rats and spawn it in the moldy halls. Shuffle the encounter deck. Haunted. Search the encounter deck and discard pile for a swarm of rats and spawn it in the moldy halls. Shuffle the encounter deck. Okay, let me take a quick look at the discard pile. Okay, so we got to grab 1 out of the discard pile, which is going to make our lives considerably more complicated. Grab the 2 clues for the Landlord's Quarters. Then action 3, we'll go ahead and investigate since we are up 2. Rune is -2. If you fail and Nahab is at your location, she attacks you. So we don't fail. We do get one of the clues. That brings Carolyn up to 5. That will do it for Carolyn. Now we'll drop back down to Agnes's play area. After I flip Carolyn's mini card over. With Brown Jenkin at Agnes's location, discarding at the end of the enemy phase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Discarding and drawing 8 cards sounds like a very, very easy way to peel multiple weaknesses. So we're going to try to avoid that if we can, at the risk of a lot of damage. That's another part of the reason why I had Carolyn go first, is I wanted to move Carolyn out in case this plan misfired in any way. So we're going to get started. Action 1, we're going to pay the additional cost. So we're going to take a damage. So we only have to pay 1 resource to play a Storm of Spirits that we get to shuffle back in. And we're going to aim at... oh yeah, Brown gives each ready creature enemy +2 fight, which the Swarm of Rats is a creature, so... We'll aim at... Actually, they're both creatures, so we'll aim at the... Actually, we'll aim at the... Either way, we're up 3, so we'll aim at the Swarm of Rats. Actually, we can only aim at the Swarm because it's engaged with us, but Brown will take the damage as well. So up 3. Actually, is there anything I want to commit? There is not. So yeah, up 3. Okay, 0 does 2 damage to the Swarm of Rats and Nahab, and Brown Jenkin. Nahab isn't in play yet. 2. Now that gets shuffled back into the deck. Have one more shuffle and a cut. Action 2, we'll run that back, take another damage to pay 1 resource, because we'll play another copy of Storm of Spirits. We'll aim at the rats again. We are up 3. -3. Okay, no misfiring here whatsoever. So the Swarm of Rats is dead. We were up 3 on that. Brown is also dead. And we basically beat a clue out of Brown. That could have gone a lot more sideways That could have gone very wrong. I was worried on that test as I shuffle the second Storm of Spirits back in. As this goes back in, I was very worried about pulling 2 symbols out of the bag on both of those tests. I am very relieved that that didn't happen, though. And then to set up, an action 3 will be... We'll prepare for next turn and take... Actually, no. Here's what we're going to do instead. As a quasi-preparation for next turn, action 3 will be to play the Voice of Ra that we took last turn. That we took from the Arcane Initiate. So we'll gain a resource. Then we reveal 3 tokens from the bag. For each bad symbol, we get an additional 2. And there is 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we get... Holy resources, Batman! We actually got 7 resources out of that. So that will bring Agnes up to... That'll bring Agnes up to 8 resources total. 3, 6, 7, 8. Holy resources, Batman. That was actually helpful. Alright, that will do it for Agnes in the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the Swarm of Rats is going to move and attack somebody. Who is it going to attack? I think... I'm going to send it after Agnes. So we'll bring the Swarm of Rats in. Agnes will take a damage. And then that will do it for the enemy phase. We'll reset everything here. I'll venture over to the map, reset the minis. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn will gain 1 resource, go up to 2. Agnes will gain 1, go up to 9. Agnes will draw... Actually, Carolyn went first, so she'll get to draw first. She'll draw... Logical reasoning. Play only if you have at least 1 clue. Choose an investigator at your location. That investigator either heals 2 horror or discards a terror card from his or her threat area. I'd like to see a little more damage healing, just because Agnes is in pretty rough shape. And then Agnes draws... Hypnotic Gaze. Fast, play when an enemy attacks an investigator at your location. Cancel the attack, then reveal a random token from the Chaos bag. If you pull a bad symbol, deal the attacking enemy's damage to itself. Not necessarily something I want to see here, but I can probably deal with it. Anyway, Mythos phase. Since we just advanced the agenda, Doom goes back up to 1 on the agenda. Agnes draws... Bedeviled. Now she can't trigger action abilities on cards she controls. Carolyn draws. Racked. Now she's -1 to each of her skills during the first skill test she performs. That's rather unfortunate. Anyway, coming out of Carolyn's encounter card, Agnes will exhaust the Arcane Initiate again to search the top 3 for a spell. First spell up. Our first card up, another Shriveling level 0. I've already got a level 3 in my hand, so I don't really want that right now. Then, Eldritch Inspiration. Fast. Play when you would resolve an effect or on a Mystic card that triggers when a bad symbol is revealed. Either cancel it or resolve it in additional time. And... Ace of Rods. I can't take that because it's a tarot. And because I've got another Shriveling in my hand, but they're both dead cards with Bedeviled, I'm actually going to take Eldritch Inspiration. Especially since it combos very nicely with Ace of Rods. Or not Ace of Rods, Hypnotic Gaze. Alright. That will do it for the Mythos phase. I'll move the Eldritch Inspiration over to Agnes's hand. Speaking of Agnes, we'll start the next investigation phase off with her, and we'll start at her play area. Here's Agnes. Action 1, spend 2 resources to conjure up a Ghost Knife, aka Spectral Razor. Fight, add your will value to your skill value for this attack. Immediately before this attack, you may engage the attacked enemy, except we're already engaged. This attack deals +1 damage, +2 damage instead if the enemy is non-elite, which the enemy is non-elite, so we are up, 6, 8, we're up 5 trying to kill it. Alright. Skull is -1, -3 instead if you're at an extra dimensional location. Rats, please stay dead this time. Alright, then action 2 will take us over to the map. Agnes is all the way down here in shot, so for action 2, she's going to move up to the moldy halls, and then action 3, she does have 2 clues, so we're going to spend those 2 clues. We need to get the scenario moving a little bit here. So we're going to spend the 2 clues to send her up into Walter Gilman's room. So we've just spent the 2 clues. I'll bring Agnes up there. We have Shroud of 4, 2 clues. Action, draw 3 cards and take 1 horror. Limit once per game. Haunted, discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. Gilman's room was of good size, but queerly irregular shape. The north wall slanting perceptibly inward from the outer to the inner end, while the low ceiling slanted gently downward in the same direction. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dreams in the Witch House. So we'll get the 2 clues for that. Now the question here, well, actually no, I'm out of actions, so I can definitely rip those clues off that location, and I might next turn, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. Carolyn will stay right here because hopefully her turn will go a similar way. So action 1, we're going to start with an investigate. Unfortunately, we're only up 1 because of racked. So we'll run this investigate up 1. +1 gets her the last clue, which is fortunate. Then on a fast action coming out of that, Pathfinder over to the Moldy Halls. Action 2 up to Walter Gilman's room to join Agnes. And then I think we have time to try to rip those clues off the location. So for action 3, she's going to test to get rid of racked. So we're at even right now. I'm going to commit her logical reasoning to bring her up 2. And I'm going to commit her lower clarity of mind to bring her up 3. Agnes doesn't have anything she wants to commit. So Carolyn is up 3 trying to get rid of racked. -3 says we can get rid of racked. But it basically took everything in Carolyn's hand. So that was action 3. Yep, action 1 action 1 investigate, action 2 over to the Pathfinder over to the Moldy Halls, action 2 move up to join Agnes, action 3 get rid of racked. Okay. Now that we've got that straight, now we're ready for the enemy phase, except as you can see, there's no board thanks to Agnes's handiwork last turn in her investigation phase. That will do it for the enemy phase. We'll start resetting everything here. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn will gain 1 resource, go up to 3. Agnes will gain 1 resource, go back up to 8. Agnes will draw. Another Spectral Razor. This will be helpful to have. Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Okay, we're fine there. Carolyn draws. Emergency Aid. This is very timely. Choose an investigator at your location, heal 2 damage from that investigator or from an ally asset he or she controls. I suspect we'll be playing that before too long. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Doom on the agenda goes up to 2. Agnes draws. Oh, for crying out loud. Meddlesome Familiar. If Brown Jenkins is not in play, search the encounter deck and discard pile for him. Spawn him at your location and take a damage. Yuck. Let's take a look at the grip. Hopefully. All the times I've ignored Ward of Protection, and now's the time I wish I had it. So Brown is back at our location again. And we really can't deal with him right now. That is unfortunate. Carolyn draws. Terror in the Night. Revelation test Will 4. If you fail, put Terror in the Night into play next to the agenda deck. If you fail by 3 or more, Terror in the Night gains Surge. If there are 3 copies of Terror in the Night next to the agenda deck, discard them and each investigator takes 3 horror. Gross. Alright, so we are down 1. Actually, yeah, we're down 1 right now. Does Agnes have anything she wants to commit? Not that she really wants to commit, so down 1. +1 gets rid of it, so that's fortunate. Alright, now, coming out of the encounter phase, we'll exhaust the Arcane Initiate once again. Okay, that seems weird, but... Alright, so first card up from the Arcane Initiate. Another Eldritch Inspiration. Second card. Ward of Protection. I should keep one of the... I'm probably going to take that just so I don't have the Meddlesome Familiar pop out again. And... Dread Curse. You can get bent. I'm going to take the Ward of Protection here. Just so that hopefully I'm able to kill Brown again. That was a highly disgusting turn. Alright, but in any event, that will do it for the Mythos phase. We'll go into the encounter phase next, and we'll start with Agnes down at her play area. Alright, action 1 for Agnes is going to be to try to get rid of Bedeviled. We are up 3. Yeah, we're up 3. A 0 gets rid of Bedeviled. Action 2... I'm going to make friends with Brown. I'll have to take the attack most likely, but I need to kill him if I can. And then action 3, we will spend... how do we want to do this? I'm going to... Unfortunately, he is elite, so I can't use Spectral Razor. I'll just use a Charge of Shriveling on him because I've got another one in hand. So I'm up 2. Do I want to commit anything? I will... Actually, no, I'm up 3, but I can't count. Because I get +2 fight, I'm at 6, so I'm up 3. Skull is -1, so we take 2 damage, but Agnes also takes a horror. So we deal 2 damage to Brown, but Agnes also takes a horror from shriveling. So unfortunately, that will do it for Agnes. We'll move over now... Oh no, I flipped the wrong mini over. We're heading over to Carolyn next, and she will drop down to Carolyn's play area as well. Action 1 for Carolyn is going to be to spend 2 resources to play Emergency Aid and heal Agnes for 2 damage. So she's not bleeding out all over the place. Action 2, we're actually going to use the action on the location to draw 3 cards and take 1 horror. So that's where the extra action token comes into play that I like so much from Orbits. Because I can put it on the location to signify which investigator has done the effect already. So now Carolyn's used that. So we get to draw 3 cards. First card up. First Aid, 2 cost to play, uses 3 supplies. If First Aid has no supplies, discard it. As an action, spend 1 supply, heal a damage or a horror from an investigator at your location. I really want something to get those clues if I can. Hypnotic Therapy, this might also be helpful. As an action, exhaust Hypnotic Therapy, test Lore 2. If you succeed, heal 1 horror from an investigator at your location. Then that investigator may draw a card. 2 cost to play, will, lore, and wildcard on commit. Also as a reaction, after one of your other card effects heals horror from an investigator, exhaust Hypnotic Therapy. That effect heals 1 additional horror. And Dr. Milan Christopher, you're not going to help me get the clues directly, and I'm going to need a couple turns before I can play you anyway. But 4 cost to play, 1 lore on commit, get +1 lore. After you successfully investigate, gain a resource. Then for action 3... Action 3, I think we'll take a resource just to open up my options for next turn. So that will do it for Carolyn. I'll flip over her last token, move over to the map, and flip her mini card over. Then in the enemy phase, Agnes will take 1 and 1 from Brown, but he will exhaust. He'll exhaust but stay engaged with Agnes. The reason that's important is because the clause on the card says when the enemy phase ends, if Jenkins is ready and he's not, each investigator at his location discards his or her hand, then draws that many cards. So now the enemy phase is over, which means Brown is not ready. So we get to exhaust him, and we don't have to discard our hands. So anyway, that will do it for the enemy phase. Brown will unexhaust, but he'll go back to being aloof. So we'll put him on the location. I'll start resetting everything. Then I'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. I finally did get the minis flipped over as well. But anyway, Carolyn will gain 1 resource and go up to 3 resources. Agnes will gain 1 as well and go up to 9. Agnes will draw. Another copy of Shriveling, which I'm not particularly happy to see since I've already got 1 in hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And guess what? It just became discard fodder. Yeah. Carolyn draws. Esoteric Atlas. 3 cost to play, agility on commit. Uses 4 secrets. As an action, spend 1 secret and exhaust Esoteric Atlas. Choose a revealed location that is exactly 2 connections away from your location. Move to that location. Okay. But unfortunately that is an action, so as long as Carolyn is still bedeviled, I won't be able to use it. But anyway, Doom on the agenda goes up to 3. Agnes draws. Meddlesome Familiar. If Brown Jenkins is not in play, and he is, we'll be searching the encounter deck and discard pile for a swarm of rats, spawn and engage with you, then take a damage, except we're not going to, because this is what we kept Ward of Protection around for. This is what we kept Ward of Protection from the... there it is. We kept Ward of Protection specifically for this card. Because because we're running behind enough, so we need to get moving here. Carolyn will draw. Disquieting Dreams. Test Will 5. If you fail, put Disquieting Dreams into play in your threat area. At the end of your turn, discard the top card of the encounter deck. Forced, when the encounter deck runs out of cards, discard Disquieting Dreams and reveal the top 10 cards of your deck. Draw each weakness revealed and discard each other revealed card. Oh, gross. We're down to... yuck. Unfortunately, I think I've got to use Hypnotic Therapy. I wanted to play Hypnotic Therapy, but I think I've got to use it to try to get rid of this. So right now I'm up 1. Let's see if Agnes has anything in her hand that she wants to commit. I guess I'll use Arcane Studies to put Carolyn up 2. I really don't want this to go off. I don't really want this to enter a threat area and then potentially go off. -2 means it doesn't go in her threat area, so I'm very happy to see that. Anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Coming out, you guys know the drill by now. Exhaust the Arcane Initiate and look for a spell. First up, Voice of Ra, I might take that. Then, Drawn to the Flame, I can't take that. And... Ace of Rods. I would be happy to take Drawn to the Flame, but the only card I can take is Voice of Ra, so I will have to take that. Alright. Agnes's deck is getting very, very small. The Arcane Initiate is almost like you're drawing a guaranteed spell every turn. Unfortunately, you do have to be careful with it just because Dark Memory is a spell, so you can find it with Arcane Initiate. But anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase next. We'll drop down to Agnes in her play area to start. Action 1, we're going to use Drawn to the Flame to rip those 2 clues off the location. Because I have a feeling we lose them when they go off. When we advance, which we're going to do next, most likely. Agnes draws. Diabolic Voices. Test Will 3. For each point you fail by, discard 1 random card from your hand. For each card you can't discard, take one horror or 1 damage. Gets +1 difficulty for each copy of Diabolic Voices in the discard pile. Right now we have... We have 1 copy in the discard pile, so this is a Will 4. We are up 2, and I think that's where we'll test. Tentacle Touch says we lose 3 cards. That's unfortunate. Which means I've got some good stuff here that's vulnerable to it. So right, we'll take that one, that one. I just shuffled my hand and did it off camera. So let's see what we're losing. Okay, I'm not real happy with I'm not happy with losing the Voice of Ra or the Spectral Razor, but it could have been a whole lot worse. But anyway, we get the 2 clues. That was action 1. Now we're going to spend the 6 clues. So 3 from Agnes, 3 from Carolyn, and we'll advance. So Act 1A, investigating the witch house. All right. Secrets of the past. Standing in a dead man's room is disconcerting enough, but what you find within is enough to make you want to leave and never return. Walter Gilman's journey is filled with descriptions of his dreams and visions, each more terrifying and perplexing than the last. He mentions seeing the figure of Keziah Mason on more than one occasion, and at one point calls her by another name, Nahab. Nahab. As soon as you read the name aloud, the nearby window shatters, and an all-too-familiar spectral mist invades the cramped space. When it recedes, everything about the room has changed. A work desk and an aged bookshelf occupy the far corner of Gilman's room, where his bed should be. The door you entered from is gone. Strange geometrical markings drawn with a sticky red substance cover the walls. Swap Walter Gilman's room with the set-aside Keziah's room, taking its place. All tokens and cards at the former location are now at the new location. Remove each other location in play from the game. Choose an investigator to take control of the set-aside Black Book asset. Shuffle both set-aside copies of Strange Geometry into the encounter deck. Alright, so we get the Black Book, and we'll take a look at Strange Geometry before we shuffle it into the deck. Actually, we're going to have a lot to take a look at, so we're swapping this out. So we're swapping Walter Gilman's room out with Keziah's room. Spectral Witch House. Gilman could not have told what he expected to find there, but he knew he wanted to be in the building where some circumstance had more or less suddenly given a mediocre old woman of the 17th century an insight into mathematical depths perhaps beyond the utmost modern delvings of Planck, Heisenberg, Einstein, and de Sitter. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dreams in the Witch House. This flips over to reveal. Keziah's room. Shroud of 3, no clues. Reaction. After you successfully investigate Keziah's room, instead of discovering clues, put the top card of the Unknown Places deck into play unrevealed. Then you may move to that location. Haunted. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a hex card is discarded. Draw that card. And remove everything else from the game. So we'll move over to the map in a minute, just to show how everything is changing. Everything else comes out of the game. I'll put those over to the side. All right. We've got all that set up. Next, we're going to take a look at the asset that we get to put under somebody's control. The Black Book, signed in blood. There's 3 costs to play: will, lore, and wildcard on commit. You get +1 will and +1 lore. Reaction: when you play a card, exhaust the Black Book and take X horror. Reduce that card's cost by X. He must sign in his own blood the Book of Azathoth and take a new secret name. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dreams in the Witch House. Ooh, that sounds scary. But I think... I could make arguments to give this to either one of them. But I think I'm actually going to give this to Agnes, just because she has fewer hand slots in her deck. Then last up, we will take a look at the new card we're putting into the encounter deck. We have 2 copies of Strange Geometry. 4 cost to play, 1 clue. Revelation. Put Strange Geometry into play and move to it. Forced. After the investigation phase ends, discard Strange Geometry and move each investigator and enemy here to the location with the most clues. Each investigator who moved by this effect takes 1 damage and 1 horror. Fast action. If Strange Geometry has no clues on it, move to any revealed location. So we'll shuffle those in. Alright, I'm glad we kept that encounter card at bay from Carolyn. Alright. Now we'll take a look at the new act. Act 2A, Beyond the Witch House. Among the books in this strange room is a black, nameless tome inscribed with dried red blood. It matches a description from Walter Gilman's journal of a tome he names The Black Book. This room must be the haunt of Keziah Mason from over 200 years ago. It is rumored that Keziah had discovered deep mathematical truths that allowed her to traverse space and time. Perhaps you can find a way out using this knowledge. Objective: only investigators in the witch house may spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance, and we need 10 clues. Fortunately, we already have 3 clues. So, that was Agnes's action 1. Now, as I mentioned, let's move over to the map and see how things have changed. So as you can see, our map has changed a very great amount. So right now the only location in play is Keziah's room, because Act 1B specified removing each other location in play from the game. So for Action 2, since Agnes still has 2 actions left, she's going to engage Brown, and then Action 3 she's going to shriveling him. She's up 4 because of the Black Book. Trying to finish him off again. -3 says Brown can peace out once again. So Brown is dead again. Agnes has... And now Agnes gets another clue to put us up to 4 total. That will do it for Agnes in the investigation phase. Carolyn's turn. Action 1, she's going to take a resource. Then Action 2, she's going to spend her 4 resources to play Milan. +1 lore after you successfully investigate, gain a resource. While I truly pray that this nightmare is just a singular abomination, I must admit that I am exhilarated by the possibility that this is but one species of a new genus. Then Action 3, we will investigate up 2. Elder sign. Let's take a look at Carolyn's elder sign. Come on. Carolyn's elder sign is +1. You may heal 1 horror from an investigator or ally asset at your location. I think we're going to heal that off of Agnes. Agnes will gain a resource from Carolyn's reaction ability, go up to 9. Then Carolyn will gain a resource, go up to 1. And then we'll put the top location... What did I do with... Here's the Unknown Places deck. We'll put the top card of the Unknown Places deck into play, and Carolyn will move to it. So let's take a look at the flavor text on the Unknown Places, then we'll reveal it. It was also possible that the inhabitants of a given dimensional realm could survive entry to many unknown and incomprehensible realms of additional or indefinitely multiplied dimensions, be they within or outside the given space-time continuum, and that the converse would likewise be true. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dreams in the Witch House. So the flavor text will be the same on all of these, but it reveals 2. The Twilight Abyss. Oh boy. Shroud of 2, 4 clues. Forced. After you've entered Twilight Abyss, test Will or Agility 3. For each point you fail by, take 1 damage. These organic entities whose motions seemed least flagrantly irrelevant and unmotivated were probably projections of life forms of our own planet, including human beings. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dreams in the Witch House, Victory 1. So we'll get a connecting arrow for that. We'll get 4 clues for the location. And then no matter what I test, Carolyn is down 1. Do I have anything? I'll take an agility test, and I'll have to commit the Esoteric Atlas to get to even. Just to try to survive this. Okay, a 0 puts her at even, so that worked. Alright, that will do it for the investigation phase. I'll flip Carolyn over. Before I go into the enemy phase, let me just mention, I did pull the token from here. There had been a token when this was Walter Gilman's room for Carolyn using the ability, but I got rid of that. So, anyway, now that we've got that clear. Enemy phase, there are no enemies in play, so we'll start resetting everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn will gain 1 resource and go to 2. Agnes will gain 1 resource and go to 10. Agnes will draw. Clairvoyance. 4 cost to play. Use is 3 charges. Action, spend 1 charge, investigate. Investigate using lore instead of using will instead of lore. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at this location. If an Elder Sign +1 or 0 token is revealed during this investigation, take 1 horror. I may actually send Agnes up to work on that Twilight Abyss, and have Carolyn keep putting locations into play. Carolyn draws. Another emergency aid, which makes that idea even more appealing. But it means I need to have them together for at least an action. But that will do it for the upkeep phase. Mythos phase, Doom goes up to 4. Clearly let that linger too long. Agnes draws. Terror in the Night, test Will 4. If you fail, put it into play next to the agenda deck. If you fail by 3 or more, gain Surge. If there are 3 copies of Terror in the Night next to the agenda deck, discard them and each investigator takes 3 horror. Agnes is actually up 3. Actually, yeah, she's up 3. But I need to be... Actually, no, I don't need to be careful of the skull. +1 means we're clear of that. Carolyn draws. Strange Geometry, Shroud of 4, 1 clue. Revelation, put it into play and move to it. Force, after the investigation phase ends, discard Strange Geometry and move each investigator and enemy here to the location with the most clues. Each investigator moved by this effect takes 1 and 1. As a fast action, if Strange Geometry has no clues on it, move to any revealed location. So we'll move Carolyn over there, put the clue on it. Then coming out of the encounter phase, or coming out of Carolyn's encounter card, Arcane Initiate gets exhausted. First card up for Agnes. Storm of Spirits. I don't think we're doing too much fighting right now, but... Hallowed Mirror, I wish I could take this. And... Drawn to the Flame. I also wish I could take this, but the only card I can take is the Storm of Spirits. Still, it's kind of a good thing to guard against a swarm if I can. So... Right. Anyway. That will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase now, and we'll start with Agnes, and we'll move over to the map. Before we jump into Agnes's turn, just to show you, Strange Geometry is over here with Carolyn. So, yeah. So action 1 for Agnes, we're actually going to spend 4 resources to play her copy of Clairvoyance. Again, this is her investigate spell using will instead of lore. If I succeed, get an additional clue. But if I pull a good symbol and an Elder Sign +1 or 0, I take a horror. We'll get the 3 charges for that. There we go. Action 2, we'll move her up to the Twilight Abyss. Then we'll make an agility test. And I have nothing I want to commit, so we're at even. +1 means we survive. Then action 3, we'll use a charge of clairvoyance. We are up 5, 6, 7. We are up 5 trying to get 2 clues. +1 means she does take a horror, which I'll put on the Arcane Initiate because it's got 2 sanity. But it also means I get 2 clues. So I'll move those over to Agnes's play area, bringing us up to 6. And we need to find the Witch House Ruins. So that is somewhere in the bottom 3 of the Unknown Places deck. But anyway, that will do it for Agnes. Carolyn will start off with an investigate. She's up 1. +1 gets her the clue and another resource, so we're up to 7 clues, and she's up to 3 resources from Milan. As a fast action, I can move her to any revealed location, so it's either Keziah's room or the Twilight Abyss. I think it will be the Twilight Abyss. We can work on the clues and potentially heal Agnes too. More importantly, unfortunately, we are down 1. So we'll have to... So yeah, down 1, and I don't have anything to commit. I already looked. Either one, I'd be down 1. Rune is not good. Okay, Rune is -2. If you fail and Nahab is at your location, she attacks you. Nahab is not at our location, but we do fail by 3. So Carolyn's going to end up taking 3 damage out of that, which is going to change my plans just a little bit. Action 2, I wanted to play Emergency Aid on Agnes, but I've got to use it on Carolyn. Agnes can still take a couple hits. Carolyn can't. And action 3, we'll go ahead and investigate up 3. -1 gets us another clue, which brings us up to 8 now, and Carolyn gets another resource, goes up to 2. That will do it for the investigation phase, which is the end of Strange Geometry. Actually, before we move out of the investigation phase... no. I think we're going to leave... Carolyn... Agnes is up 1. I might be able to get that clue with Agnes, actually. So yeah, I think we will exhaust Pathfinder. We need to keep things moving here. So Carolyn's going to move down to Keziah's room. Now the investigation phase ends and Strange Geometry goes away. Alright, enemy phase. There are still no enemies in play, so I'll start re-readying everything. And we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn gains a resource, goes up to 3. Agnes gains a resource, goes up to 7. Agnes draws. Ward of Protection. I'm not sorry to see that. Carolyn draws. Book of Psalms. I'm also not sorry to see this. Uses 4 secrets, 3 costs to play, and we might. Actually, I gotta get rid of Bedeviled first. Action, spend 1 secret, heal 1 horror from an investigator at your location, add 2 blessed tokens to the chaos bag. Alright, so we have 2 agendas left. That will do it for the investigation, or for the enemy, for the upkeep phase. Mythos, Doom goes up to 5. Agnes draws. Evil Past. Revelation, put Evil Past into your threat area, and if there's no copy in your threat area, if there is, discard Evil Past and it gains Surge instead. Forced. When the encounter deck runs out of cards, take 2 horror and test Will 3. If you succeed, discard Evil Past. So she's going to get rocked when the encounter deck runs out. Carolyn draws. Evil Past as well. So they're both going to get rocked when the encounter deck runs out. But that will do it for the Mythos phase. We'll do our traditional Mythos phase. Traditional End of Carolyn's encounter card. Arcane Initiate, first card up. Drawn to the Flame, I wish I could take that. Tower 16, that can get bent. And Read the Signs, that I will take. That's the only card I can take. And now this deck is getting tiny. Didn't mean to jar the camera there. Just make sure, okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't do anything funny there. Give that a cut, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards left. That Arcane Initiate is basically a free spell every turn. I think I mentioned that earlier, but that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase next. Let's move over to the map and pay Agnes a visit. Alright, Agnes is up top in shot here. Agnes is up at the Twilight Abyss. Action 1, she's going to investigate, see if we can't get that. I think we're going to do a regular investigate, and we're going to commit... We're going to commit the Eldritch Inspiration to bring her up 2. Now that Hypnotic Gaze is out of her hand, it's basically a little more useless. So up 2, trying to get that last 2. +1 gets her the last clue, so that's very relieving. Our first victory point as well. Action 2 will bring her down to Keziah's room. Then action 3, she will investigate at even. See if we can't get another location in play. Rune says no. Rune, as we saw earlier, is -2. If you fail and Nahab at your location, she attacks you. So we fail, but we don't get attacked at least. That will do it for Agnes. Carolyn... actually, a better use might have been trying to get rid of Bedeviled, but oh well. Carolyn will investigate. She's up 2. Rune is also -2, but unlike Agnes trying to investigate, Carolyn succeeds. So we'll put another Unknown Places into play. And we'll flip this into... Moldy Halls, earlier tonight. Shroud of 2, no clues. You request, as an action, you request aid from your past self. Each investigator at this location may return 1 card from his or her discard pile to his or her hand. Each investigator who does so remembers that he or she, quote, meddled with the past, group limit once per game. So we'll put that into play. And then if you remember the investigate clause, the clause on Keziah's room after you successfully investigate, you may move to that location. Looking at our discard piles, there's actually some stuff, at least in Agnes's discard pile, I might want. Carolyn isn't... I don't know. We're not going to move there at any rate. Action 3, oh, we do get the resource from Milan. Action 3, actually no, I think that was Action 1. Action 2 will run the investigate back. Still up 2. Rune is still a -2. So we get another connecting halls location. There are another unknown places. This time we flip over. We also get another resource from Milan while this is deciding if it wants to focus or not. So Carolyn's up to 5. There we go. Oh boy, Shroud of 3, 2 clues. Court of the Great Old Ones, a not too distant future. That's 3, Shroud of 3, 4 clues. Forced, after you enter Court of the Great Old Ones, test Will 3. For each point you fail by, take 1 horror. Haunted, the next action you perform this round must be an investigate action. Then Carolyn, I will move there. 3, 4, I will move her there. So after I enter there, I have to test Will 3, and for each point I fail by, I take a horror. I'm at even, which is where I'll test. Skull is, oh boy. Skull is -1, -3 come on, focus. There we go. Skull is -1, -3 instead if you're at an extra dimensional location. The Court of the Great Ones is very extra dimensional, so Carolyn will take 3 horror. Fortunately, she's got 9 sanity, so that's not a huge problem for her. It's just, we need to get rid of this bedeviled, though, if I have any designs on being able to heal it. Which I may have to bring Agnes over to help with that. Action 3, we will investigate, though. We're up 2. In fact, Agnes can probably get those clues more easily than Carolyn can. Elder Sign will actually give her some much needed help, because as we saw earlier, Elder Sign is plus... Come on. There we go. Elder Sign is +1. You may heal 1 horror from an investigator or ally asset at your location. So Carolyn will gladly heal a horror from herself. She'll get 2 resources from that. She'll get 1 from Milan successfully investigating, to say nothing of the clue. She'll get 1 from Milan and 1 from healing horror off of herself to go up to 7. And then, coming out of her last action, I'm going to exhaust Pathfinder and move her back to Agnes. Because I'll plan on having Agnes take that bedeviled test for Carolyn next turn, before I send her over to work on getting those clues. But that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, there are still no enemies in play, so we will reset everything. I don't know why I flipped Carolyn's mini over. Maybe just have it. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn, actually both of our ladies will gain 1 resource and both go up to 8. Agnes will draw. The Tower 16, so I can't commit cards to skill tests while it's in my hand. And if it was drawn in my opening hand, I couldn't replace it, it would have had to stay. Carolyn draws. Logical reasoning, ooh, this will be very helpful. Because now we can actually heal something. But the agenda is advancing in the Mythos phase. Alright. The crone is here. A dizzying violet light emerges from the crevices of the ramshackle house, behind cracks in the wooden paneling and underneath the floor, bathing you from every angle. An inhuman squeal mocks you as a figure emerges from the witchlight. Only a hint of humanity remains in her crooked and broken form. The crone cackles with a nightmarish timbre, her voice echoing and resounding from the realm beyond. If it is it's Act 2, so we spawn the set-aside Nahab in Keziah's room. Shuffle both set-aside copies of Ghostly Presence into the encounter deck. Find Brown Jenkin, even if he is out of play, and place him in Nahab's location. Oh, joy. Alright, so we got our first look at Nahab and Ghostly Presence. Nahab, she who signed the Black Book. 1 per investigator, 3. Hunter, retaliate. Do not remove Doom from Nahab when the agenda advances. Nahab gets plus X fight, where X is the number of the current agenda. Forced, after the enemy phase begins, if Nahab is ready, place 1 Doom on her. And we have 1 damage and 2 horror on Soak. So plus X fight, where X is the current agenda. We're going into agenda 3, so that's going to be a fight of 4. I'm going to give that to Agnes, because I think she can probably deal with that. Unfortunately, we have to get, well, before we do that, we'll take a quick look at Ghostly Presence, which is going in to the encounter deck. So Nahab is basically the same thing that we saw earlier with the Meddlesome Familiar. If she's in play, ready her, resolve her Hunter keyword, and she attacks each investigator at her location. If Nahab is at the site of the sacrifice, place 1 Doom on her as well. Otherwise, search the encounter discard deck and search the encounter deck and discard pile for Nahab and spawn her at your location. I will shuffle these in. All right, we'll grab Brown Jenkin as well. And he's back at our location as well. All right, so now that we've got that, now we can take a look at our new agenda. Agenda 3A, the Witchlight. In the dazzling violet light of dream, the old woman and the fanged furry thing came again, and with a greater distinctness than any former occasion. This time they actually reached him, and he felt the crone's withered claws clutching at him. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dreams in the Witch House. Each non-weakness enemy gets plus 3 health. So actually Nahab is a 7, Brown is a 4. As a reaction, after you defeat Brown, Jenkin, or Nahab, gain 1 clue from the token bank, 2 clues instead if there are 3 or more investigators in the game. Oh boy, that's going to be a problem. That's going to screw up my plans to get rid of Bedeviled for Carolyn. But anyway, encounter cards time. Agnes draws. Disquieting Dreams. Test Will 5. If you fail, put it into play in your threat area. Forced. At the end of your turn, discard the top card of the encounter deck. Forced. When the encounter deck runs out of cards, discard Disquieting Dreams and reveal the top 10 cards of your deck. Draw each weakness and revealed and discard each other revealed card. This is really bad because Agnes's deck is getting tiny. Unfortunately, I can't commit cards because the Tower 16 is in my hand. So another option is I just ward this to keep it off the board, and I think that's what I do. I think we'll spend the 1 resource to play the Ward of Protection on Disquieting Dreams just to keep that off of Agnes's board. Then Carolyn draws. Another copy of Strange Dimensions, so Carolyn's going for a ride once again. That's rather annoying, but nothing I can really do there. Although, looking at our Unknown Places deck, we are starting to get down to where we need to the location we need to find. But that will do it for the investigation, or for the mythos phase, which necessitates this. 1, 2, 3. Alright, first card up. Dread Curse. You're definitely going to get bent. Storm of Spirits, which we probably will snap up. And Read the Signs. This is a tough choice. Well, the only one I don't want and can't take anyway is Dread Curse. Question is, do I want Storm of Spirits or do I want Read the Signs? I think we need... The question is, do we try to get away from Nahab and work on clues? Or do we just try to fight this out? Unfortunately, Agnes isn't going to last long in a fight where most of the damage is horror-based. So, I think we try to get away from Nahab, actually. So I think we're going to take Read the Signs and try to rip the clues off of the court. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm glad I kept Disquieting Dreams out of her threat area. Right. Alright, so that will do it for the encounter. So that will do it for the mythos phase. Investigation phase next. And I think we will drop down to Agnes in her play area. Alright, here's Agnes. Action 1, we're going to try to evade Nahab. Unfortunately, I'm even, and I still can't commit with the Tower 16 in my hand. So, at even. Tentacle touched. Not really what I had in mind. Action 2, we'll try that again. A 0 evades Nahab. And then action 3, since I'm going to be losing my hand anyway, I might as well play... Actually, you know what? I've got a better idea. Got a little bit of a plan here. Action 3 will take us over to the map. I've got a little bit of a plan to protect Agnes's hand, but I need Carolyn to do her part. Action 3 is going to move Agnes over to the Court of the Great Old Ones. So, as you recall, when you enter that, you have to test Will 3. For each point you fail by, take 1 horror. Agnes is up 4. Elder Sign. Let's take a look at Agnes's Elder Sign. +1, you may heal 1 damage, which I will gladly do. So that's very welcome. And actually, that's out of Agnes's threat area now. Carolyn, this is where Carolyn's got to do her part. So for action 1, Carolyn's going to investigate strange geometry. She's up 1. Do I have anything I want to commit? I do not. -1 gets her the clue, which brings her up to 7. We're actually at 11 clues total. She gets a resource from Milan, moves up to 9. And then she can move to any revealed location. So I'll move her back to Keziah's room. Then action 2 will be to investigate up 2. -1 gives me another successful investigate, which brings Carolyn up to 10. And puts another location, another unknown places location in play, which I will move to. So we'll set that there. And then Carolyn's moving to City of the Elder Things. Oh dear. Okay, so Shroud of 3, 4 clues. After you reveal City of the Elder Things, take 2 horror, which Carolyn will do. Put the top card of the unknown places deck into play unrevealed. For the remainder of the scenario, City of Elder Things is considered to be connected to that location and vice versa. So we'll get the 4 clues for that. And then Carolyn will move to that location. We'll also put this location into play. I'll put it there. All right. And then for action 3... Decisions. I think for action 3... I will go ahead and investigate. Yeah. We'll investigate. So 4, 5 with Milan to 3. She's up 2. Yeah, up 2. I was deciding if I'm going to do something else instead. Rune is -2. So fortunately we don't fail. Carolyn gets a clue. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, this is where the plan worked. So the plan I was trying to draw Brown away from Agnes's grip. So Brown will actually move up to Carolyn. And then that will do it for the So at the end of the enemy phase, since Brown is ready, Carolyn will discard her 2 cards and redraw. So Carolyn will end up instead with another first aid and Eureka. All right, that's actually not all that unwelcome. But anyway, I'm just glad Brown's aloof. But that will do it for the enemy phase. We'll reset everything here. And then we'll move... Nahab will also wake up, and then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn gains 1 resource, goes to 11. Agnes also gains 1 and goes to 8. Agnes draws. Eldritch Inspiration. That might be helpful if we need to get away from Nahab next turn. 6, 7, okay. Carolyn draws. Fingerprint Kit, which we still can't use because they didn't get rid of Bedeviled. But anyway, that will do it for the upkeep phase. Mythos phase. Doom on the new agenda goes up to 1. Agnes draws. Diabolic Voices. Test Will 3. I think we have our other copies of Diabolic Voices in the discard pile. Yep, 1 and 2. Okay, so this is actually a Will 5 test, which Agnes is up 2 for. And I still can't commit because the Tower 16 is in my hand. skull is -3 because we're at an extra dimensional location. So we fail by 1. Yeah, we fail by 1. Which means we've got to discard from her hand. Now this is a part where I would be very okay with discarding Tower of Secrets. Or not Tower of Secrets. Tower 16. And we lose Eldritch Inspiration. Which is not what I had in mind, but better. But again, that's another situation where that could have been a whole lot worse. Carolyn draws. Pulled by the stars, put it into play in your threat area. Forced, at the end of your turn, if you did not move at least once during your location, or during your turn, take 2 horror. As an action, test Will 3. If you succeed, discard Pulled by the Stars from play. If there's an exhausted witch enemy at your location, this test is automatically successful. And Nahab, shockingly enough, counts as a witch, so... There may be possibilities there, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Our first player will be... Agnes, and we'll move over to the map. I almost forgot coming out of the Mythos phase, although I might want to be careful how often I'm doing this because my deck is starting to get pretty thin. Forgot to do my Mythos phase ritual. First card up. Hypnotic Gaze, okay. Then, Hallowed Mirror. I really want to take this, but I can't. And another Clairvoyance. I think I'm going to take the Clairvoyance here because it looks like we still need clues. But again, we don't have many cards left in the deck. Alright, anyway. Action 1, we're going to use a charge of Clairvoyance to try to get those clues off the location. So we are up... Let's see. Lore plus... Okay, lore. 5, 6, 7. We're up 4. +1 gets her 2 clues, but it also means she takes a horror. We do need to be aware of that. Action 2 will run that back. Actually, Shroud of 3... Yeah, we'll run that back because I've got another copy of Clairvoyance in hand. Rune is -2. Fortunately, Nahab is not at our location. That gets us the last clue, though. Then action 3... Action 3... Is there a connection? Yes. We will move to... Actually, Strange Geometry should have gone away at the end of the investigation phase after Carolyn left it. So for action 3, do I want to keep trying to siphon away from... so I can get to the Twilight Abyss or Keziah's room. Either way, I'm going to end up making friends with Nahab. Unless... Well... I might have a little bit of a daring plan here. Action 3, I'm going to move to... I think either... Oh boy, this could be a small problem. Yeah. I think action 3 will be... To play another copy... Actually, no, I'm going to play her Shriveling level 3. So I'm going to discard her level 0 Shriveling. And we see that we've now picked up a stronger copy of Shriveling. We get +2 will, still deal +1 damage for the attack, but if we pull a bad symbol, we take a horror. So we'll get the 4 charges for that. That will do it for Agnes. Carolyn, going to her turn, and she will investigate, committing a copy of Eureka to bring her up 3, trying to get one of those clues. Okay, Skull is a -3 because we are at an extra dimensional location, but we succeed. Carolyn goes up to 12 resources. We get a clue, and we get to look at the top 3 for a card with Eureka. First possibility up. Another Pathfinder. This might not be unwelcome. Then another Book of Psalms. And finally, a Hawkeye folding camera. This has been noticeably absent this game, but I think we're going to take another Pathfinder, just because I want to keep her moving. Alright, how many clues do we have? We have 9 right now. What I was trying to do was find a copy of Deduction so I could play. So I could try to get the clues all in one shot, but I think we need to keep things moving here. Alright, so action 2 for Carolyn will be... wait. Oh, I kept the Pathfinder. Okay, never mind. Just making sure I had all that straight. Alright, action... Okay, so action... Actually, no, we're going to use a fast action with Pathfinder to move Carolyn up to this unknown places. This one's connected to City of the Elder Things. Salem Gowl, 1692. Shroud of 3, 2 clues. Action, test lore 3. If you succeed, move to any revealed location. Limit once per game. Haunted, move to Keziah's room. Not even Cotton Mather could explain the curves and angles smeared on the gray stone walls with some red, sticky fluid. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dreams in the Witch House. Get the 2 clues for that. Then for action 3, we will... And that's got no victory on it. I could try to get her back to the... I could try to get her back to Keziah's room, but... looking at her discard pile, I don't think there's really anything I want right now. There might be, though. I will... We have 9 clues right now. Actually, moving her back to Keziah's room might not be the worst idea in the world. It's kind of a dangerous plan, but... Well, we know where we need to get to is one of these 2. So, I don't think I want to move her just yet. So I think action 3 will be to play her other copy of Pathfinder. So now we can keep her very much moving. And I will exhaust that to move her to... Where do I want to move her to? Actually, no. I'm going to leave her... I'm going to leave her where she is. I think. Yeah, so... Oh, wait a minute. Okay, Nahab wasn't ready last turn, so yeah, okay. Never mind, we're all good. So now that we're into the enemy phase, Brown will move up to Carolyn. Nahab will move over and make friends with Agnes. After the enemy phase begins, if Nahab is ready, and she is, we'll put a doom on her. Now she'll move over to Agnes. Deal 1 and 2. We'll put the 1 and 1 that would defeat the Arcane Initiate on her. And then Agnes has got to take 1 as well. So unfortunately, Agnes is now 1 sanity away from being defeated by sanity. Then at the end of the enemy phase, Brown is ready, so Carolyn's got to discard her hand. And draw 2 new cards. First card up. The deduction that we needed, which we still might use actually, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's basically commit it to investigate and get 1 additional clue if you succeed. And the Hawkeye folding camera that we probably threw away with Eureka. Alright, so now we'll start re-readying everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn gains 1 resource, goes back to 10. Agnes will gain 1 and go up to 6. Agnes will draw. Actually, Nahab is ready again. Agnes will draw. Storm of Spirits, which is a very dangerous card right now. Carolyn will draw. Hallowed Mirror at long last. Alright, Mythos phase. Doom on the agenda. Goes up to 2. Agnes draws. Extra-dimensional visions. Oh boy. Revelation test Will 2. This test gets +1 difficulty for every 10 cards in the discard pile. If you fail, discard an asset you control. On the morning of the 29th, Gilman awaked into a maelstrom of horror. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dream in the Witch House. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so it gets +2 difficulty, which means it's a 4, and we are up 3. And I do have an asset I don't mind discarding. Skull is -3. So that was a 4, I was up 3. So we're clear of that. Carolyn draws. Ghostly Presence. If Nahab is in play, ready her. Resolve her Hunter keyword. Uh-oh. Resolve her Hunter keyword, and she attacks each investigator at her location. If Nahab is at the site of the sacrifice, place 1 doom on her as well. She is not... Okay, this is a big problem because of her Hunter keyword, she's actually already engaged with an investigator. She's engaged with Agnes already, so this is really bad because Nahab actually attacks Agnes, which gets Agnes defeated by sanity. So Agnes has now taken a mental trauma as well. This is especially problematic because the 7 clues she had actually now get dropped at the Court of the Great Old Ones. That is very unfortunate. So, yeah. Alright, so that means Nahab moves over to the site of the sacrifice. Or not the site of the sacrifice, Court of the Great Old Ones. Alright, that is rather unfortunate, but there's nothing we can do now but try to get things going as fast as we can. So, Carolyn will move over to the map. Carolyn is all the way up over here, and as you can see, we had to place Agnes's 7 clues back on the Court of the Great Old Ones, because that's where she was defeated by Nahab. Action 1 will move her down to the City of the Elder Things. Action 2, we're going to investigate, and I'm going to commit my copy of Deduction to bring her up, what is that? 4, 5, 6 to 3. She's up 3. -3 gets her both clues. And I forgot to go through the flavor text on deduction. So let's do that real quick. I knew I had seen this symbol before. I must warn the others before it is too late. But anyway, we get the victory point there to make up for the one that we lost from Agnes. Then I'll pathfinder down to Keziah's room. Action 3, I did gain the resource, so I'm up to... Did I gain the resource? I don't think I did. So she's up to 11 from that. But I will investigate here. I'm up 2. Yeah. Rune is -2. Fortunately, we don't fail, and Nahab isn't at our location anyway. So I'm going to trade these 10 of these out, because Carolyn will be at 12 resources, but Carolyn once again has a bag full of money. So she's at 12 resources. But more importantly, we get another unknown places into play. I'll put this over here. No whammy, no whammy, no whammy. No whammy. This is where we need to be. Okay, so Shroud of 2, no clues. We needed to be at the Witch House Ruins. So as an action, investigate. If you succeed, instead of discovering clues, heal 2 horror, limit once per game. Haunted, lose an action. These appear to be the ruins of the Witch House. Perhaps a vision of the building's future. It is a whirlwind of crumbling bricks, blackened, moss-grown shingles, and rotting planks and timbers. So that is where we need to be. We'll move Carolyn up to that. And that is it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Brown moves to the City of the Elder Things, and Nahab moves to Keziah's room. And that's not an end of round thing, is it? No. Alright, so we will actually now re-ready everything. And we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn gains 1 resource and goes to 13. Then she draws another copy of Deduction. Okay. Alright, Mythos time. I did remember to put the Doom up on Nahab, so we have that handled. Doom goes up to 5. There we go. Carolyn draws. Extra-dimensional visions. Oh boy. Okay, so test Will 2. Agnes had this earlier before she bit it. And it's a Will 4, so she's down 1. +1 lets her pass it, so that's amazing. Okay, coming out of the Mythos phase then, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We will advance the act. All right. Searching through the ruins, you find a rotting hole in the slanted ceiling leading to a closed-off attic. Amidst the debris are crushed and splattered splintered bones, some human and some not. More of Keziah's awful tomes are scattered about, filled with pages of dark rituals and black spellcraft. On the floor, a circle has been carved, or perhaps gnawed, into the wood. At the center lies a spatter of dried blood and a jagged knife. What terrible rituals were performed in this profane space? Perhaps there is a way you can know for sure. You take the knife and prick your hand deep enough for the blood to well in your palm. Using Keziah's formulae, you draw a pattern in the circle and carve a path through time. Put the set-aside site of the sacrifice into play. If it is Agenda 1, 2, or 3, and it is Agenda 3, find a Nahab, even if she's out of play. Place 2 Doom on her and place her at the site of the sacrifice. Find Brown Jenkin, even if he's out of play, and place him at Nahab's current location. So we're going to be putting the site of the sacrifice into play. Where does this connect? I think this connects to the Witch House ruins. Okay, so we'll take a look at the unrevealed side of that in a minute. Get the connecting arrow for that. Brown. Okay, so Nahab moves to the site of the sacrifice. She then gets 2 more Doom on her. Gross. And then Brown joins her. Yuck. Okay. Alright, so... Alright. Take a look at the... I gotta change the battery first. I'll be right back. Alright, we're back here over to the map for the investigation phase. Pardon the noise. When I went to change the battery, I also discovered that it was starting to push 80 degrees, so I had to open the window up as well. But anyway... So for Action 1, I've got a little bit of a plan. It's going to involve not moving to the site of the sacrifice for the time being. Action 1, I'm going to move down to Keziah's room. Then I'm going to Pathfinder into the Court of the Great Old Ones, which means I have to test Will 3. For each point I fail by, I take a horror. I'll commit the Hawkeye folding camera to bring Carolyn up 1. +1 means I'm clear. Alright, for Action 2, I will investigate 4, 5, 6 to go up 3, trying to get 2 clues. Up 4, 5, 6. I was up 3 trying to get 2 clues. Okay, so we do pass that. An action. I do get a resource from that, so I go up to 14. I will spend 4 resources. Actually, no, I'll sit on those for the time being. Action 3, I'll run that back only up 2. A 0 gets me another clue, and another resource, which brings me up to 15. That'll do it for the enemy phase, or for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Nahab actually can't leave the site of the sacrifice, as we saw on the act, but Brown moves, and then that will do it for the enemy phase. Brown's wheel doesn't affect Carolyn because they're not at the same location, so I'll move back up top after I reset everything for the upkeep phase. Once again, I'm terrible at remembering Nahab, but I did remember to put the Doom up on her, which means we are advancing the agenda. Carolyn gains 1 resource, goes up to 16, and then she draws. Book of Psalms, which I still can't use. Now now in the Mythos phase, we actually advance the agenda, but Doom Does not get removed from Nahab. I've got a risky plan here, but we're going for it. Alright. Agenda 3B, an awakening. A sudden flash of violet light causes you to reel backwards. The spectral form of the crone is broken and shattered, but as you fall you can see a sinister grin play across her misshapen face. A jolt of pain surges through you as your head strikes the surface of the wall, and the witch's terrible grin is the last thing you see before everything goes black. When you awaken, the witch light is gone, but a vision is burned in your mind. The ancient crone, bent over a slanted floor, leering gleefully at a rotting book, a misshapen knife in her crooked fingers. Behind her, the twilight abyss extends into oblivion, and a gaping maw begins to close. If it is Act 3, which it is Act 3, we place another doom on Nahab, which, oh boy. Okay, I think we're going to need a new plan here. We're going to need to slow that down a lot. Alright, so Agenda 4A, marked for sacrifice. Either this house is truly haunted, or its strange angles and eerie light are playing tricks on your curse-addled mind. Are these ghostly visions real, or echoes of the house's gruesome past? Each non-weakness enemy gets +4 health. Actually, we haven't gone through the act yet. And once again, you can beat clues out of the enemies, but Carolyn isn't beating clues out of anybody. So let's take a look at Act 3A. And now that we haven't gone through it. Come on. Agenda 3A, stopping the ritual. You part the seams of space-time and arrive at your destination. It is the same cramped attic, but in a different time. The room is dark save for a violet glow emanating from the far edge, where the floor falls into oblivion. From out of the abyss, the ancient crone and her familiar emerge. Nahab cannot leave the site of the sacrifice. Forced, when Nahab is defeated, instead of discarding her, heal all damage from her, disengage her from all investigators, and exhaust her. She is not ready during the upkeep phase this round. Objective: if there is no doom on Nahab, advance. Okay, so now that we've done that, doom on the agenda goes up to 1, but we're actually at 6 because we have 7 doom on Nahab, and then we draw for an encounter card. Centuries of Secrets. Test Will 5. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of the encounter deck. If a Cursed Treachery is discarded by this effect, deal 1 direct damage to your investigator and to each of your ally assets. Perhaps these mysteries are better left unknown. Alright, well, I will use Book of Psalms to get down 1 and pray. Yikes. This could be trouble. That won't work. So we discard... We are at an extra dimensional location, so we have to discard the top 4 cards of the deck. 1, 2, 3, 4. We just barely don't run out. If we hit a curse, I think our plan blew up. Fate of All Fools, that's an Omen Spectral. That's a Terror Spectral. Another Fate of All Fools. And a Hex. Shockingly, I think our plan is still just barely on track. But let's see how Carolyn is going to try to salvage this scenario. I got greedy for VP, and this is where it's going to come back to bite me. So for action 1, I'm going to move over to Keziah's room. Then I'm going to exhaust both of my Pathfinders to get up to the site of the sacrifice, which will make friends with Nahab. We have 6 doom on her, which will move her over to Carolyn's threat area. But we find... Okay, let's take a look at the revealed location. Extra-dimensional witch house. Presently, he was in a crude, windowless little space with rough beams and planks rising to a peak just above his head, and with a curious slanting floor underfoot. Propped level on that floor were low cases full of books of every degree of antiquity and disintegration, and in the center were a table and bench, both apparently fastened in place. Alright, so this flips over to Shroud of 4, 3 clues. As an action, investigators at this location spend 1 per investigator clues as a group to remove 1 doom from Nahab. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity from Nahab. Forced, at the end of the round, add clues to this location until it has 3 per investigator clues on it. Haunted, you must either place 1 doom on Nahab or Nahab attacks you. This is where losing Agnes really comes back to bite us. And for actions 2 and 3, we will spend 4 clues to remove 2 doom from Nahab, but I don't think it's going to matter in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. In the enemy phase, Nahab attacks for 1 and 2, which Milan will have to eat. And then Brown will move up as well. Also, Nahab is ready, so we actually put a doom on her. I'll actually remember this time. So 5, 6... Yeah. This is where Agnes really hurt us. This is where losing Agnes really hurt us. So anyway, that will do it for the enemy phase. We'll stay right here for the upkeep phase, because I don't think the scenario is going to last much longer. Carolyn will gain 1 resource, go to 17 resources, then draw. Solemn Vow, a little late for this. Alright, so 2, 4, 6. Mythos phase, Doom goes up to 7. Carolyn draws, and this is also the last card of the deck, so once I resolve this, we'll shuffle this now, because we are about to draw the last card, so this one won't go in. Evil Past might not either. So take 2 Horror and test Will 3. For each point, if you succeed, discard it. So we're shuffling the deck right now, because this is the last card. And test Will 3. Oh, and actually, I forgot to discard at the end of the encounter phase, so at the end of the enemy phase. So Hallowed Mirror should have gone away, and Solemn Vow would have been the draw for that, so Carolyn would have drawn Liquid Courage, which won't do anything either. Alright, so Will 3, huh? Alright, so we'll test that. If you succeed, we discard Evil Past. -2 means we have to leave it. So let's see what this is. Ghostly Presence. If Nahab is in play, ready her, resolve her hunter keyword, and she attacks each investigator at her location. If Nahab is at the site of the sacrifice, place 1 doom on her as well. Otherwise, search the encounter deck and discard pile for Nahab and spawn her at your location. So, Carolyn just takes another 1 and 2 to get defeated by Sanity once again. So we take a second mental trauma with Carolyn, and then we will move all the way up top to resolve the scenario. Alright, let's go ahead and have a look-see at our resolution.
If no resolution was reached, each investigator resigned or was defeated. Flashes of vision spark your memory as you are dragged along the dirty wooden floor. A foul ceremony, the house, Nahab, a rhythmic chant, the spiraling black vortex, a dark revelry, the primal chaos, a child's cries, a writhing tunnel inside your chest. Proceed to Resolution 1. Resolution 1. You awaken in the muddy lawn at the base of some crooked wooden steps, the front door of the witch house looming above you. Every fiber of your being is filled with regret. You know you have failed to prevent something awful, though you are not sure exactly what. The evidence of your eyes and ears suggests what you saw inside the witch house was not concurrent with here and now. Regardless, you learned several things about Keziah Mason, the witch who once inhabited this old and forsaken house. With your spirit diminished and your body aching, this information will have to suffice. You dare not venture back into this infernal house. Each investigator earns experience equal to the Victory X value of each card in the Victory display.
Alright, so let's take a look at that. Unfortunately, Agnes did drop her clues on one of our Victory locations, so we get... Let me double check these. I don't think these had Victory on them. They did not. So we get... So we do get 2 experience.
If Brown Jenkins was defeated at least once during this scenario, each investigator earns 1 bonus experience. If Nahab was defeated at least once during this scenario, each investigator earns 1 bonus experience.
Alright, so we did manage to beat a couple clues out of Brown, but we didn't get to beat any out of Nahab, so each investigator gains 3 experience total.
The Act deck. If it was Act 1 when the scenario ended, no additional record is made. If it was Act 2 when the scenario ended, in your campaign log under Mementos Discovered, record Gilman's Journal. Additionally, any one investigator may choose to add the Black Book's story asset to his or her deck. This card does not count toward that investigator's deck size. If an investigator chooses to include the Black Book in his or her deck, add 1 skull token to the Chaos bag for the remainder of the campaign. If it was Act 3 when the scenario ended,
which it was,
under Mementos Discovered, record Gilman's Journal and Keziah's Formulae. Additionally, any one investigator may choose to add the Black Book story asset to his or her deck. This card does not count toward that investigator's deck size. If an investigator chooses to include the Black Book in his or her deck, add 1 skull token to the Chaos bag for the remainder of the campaign.
Okay, so, as we saw, the Black Book gives you a +1 will and +1 lore. And when you play a card, exhaust the Black Book and take X horror. Reduce that card's cost by X. I think we're actually... I gave this to Agnes at the start of this when it came up in the scenario, but I think it's actually going to be better in Carolyn's deck because Agnes really can't take a lot of horror. So I'm actually going to give the Black Book to Carolyn, which means I need to go get a skull. So I will be right back with that. Alright, since we are giving the Black Book to Carolyn, there's the additional skull token going into the Chaos bag for the campaign. So, similar to, if you remember the Dream Eaters campaign, I was open to being wrong on giving giving Randolph Carter on the Dream side to Lola. If you think I should give the Black Book to Agnes instead of Carolyn, I'm open to arguments on that in the comments section, or you can approach me on Facebook if you like. So Carolyn's got the Black Book. We picked up 3 experience for this scenario. Later this week, we'll upgrade the decks to continue the campaign, and then next week we'll continue with the 4th scenario of the campaign, The Wages of Sin. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you've been over to BGG to like the videos over there as well, thank you. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.